Hello everybody. We have another Bible study lesson today. We're going to be going over chapter 13 in Genesis. Now a few things I'd like to share about me a little bit. I currently have a job. I work over at a barbecue restaurant, but the reason I'm talking about this is, well, I just got the job recently a few months ago, around Thanksgiving time. But up until that time, I had been unemployed for the last 3 years. I have been looking for a job on my own, unable to find one on my own. I went through the Department of Labor. I tried the help of the government. Nothing there. And then finally, before I got this job, I put it in God's hands. After I got the first, and then I got a call for an interview from the managers of the place. I put this in God's hands. And after I put it in God's hands, that's when it happened. That's when I got the job. One thing I want to say, this is, showing me, and I'm saying to you, as try as we might, we ourselves are not able to do anything, but it is through Christ, through the Lord, that we can do what we want. You see, I feel like God wanted me in this position. And another thing, just recently, a few days ago, a manager was talking to me. I do basically at where I work, I wash the dishes. And he was telling me how in the first few days, I wasn't doing too hot. I almost got, let go. But now I'm doing so good at the job. I have managers, arguing because they want me. Night shift wants me, day shift wants me. Because I'm that good. I am the best that they have at what I do at where I work. Not saying that to brag, but at the whole time when I was at the job, the way I perceived it is I wanted to do a Christ-like job. And what I mean by that is I wanted to do something. I wanted to do my job in a way that would make Christ proud of me, in a way of thanking Him for what He did for me. So what I want to say to you is whatever you do, try to think of it in doing it in a Christ-like manner. Finding a way to please the Lord with what you do. If you please Him, I'm sure He'll look out after you. But I'm not saying to do that to, get the good things in life. Do it out of, genuine gratitude. But that's what I wanted to say on that. And, we're going to be starting in chapter 13 of Genesis. Then Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him to the south. Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar which he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to support them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites then dwelt in the land. So Abram said to Lot, "Please let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left." And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw all the plains of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plains of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan,
And Lot dwelt in the city of the plains, and pitched his tent, even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, Lift your eyes now, and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see, I will give to you and your descendants forever. And I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if men could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants could also be numbered. Arise, walk in the land through its length and width, for I give it to you. Then Abram moved his tent and went and dwelled in the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord. A few things I want to touch up, in this chapter. In the first few verses, after he had come out of Egypt, both him and Lot, were wealthy. They had, a lot of money. They had herds of cattle and livestock, and men to tend them. And this is where, the wealth that they had is what started the problem between them. Sometimes, wealth and riches can cause problems between people. It's something, it even works that way today. Sometimes, Satan will use, wealth to come between us. And, you see, it started with their herdsmen that were, the herdsmen of Lot's herdsmen were arguing with the herdsmen of Abram. So Abram, was very close to Lot, and he didn't want bad blood to start coming between them like their cattlemen. So, in verse 8, let's go with verse 8. So Abram said to Lot, Please let there be no strife between you and me, between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. So we have here in verse 8 that Abram wanted peace between them. And in verse 9 he says, Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left. Now, Abram was the senior of them, but he gave his nephew the choice of where to go, because he didn't want, because he was the bigger man, the more generous man. He said, you can choose anywhere you want to live, and I will live the other place. So then Lot, looked and saw, in verse 10, and Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plains of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere. They were like the gardens of the Lord, like the lands of Egypt as you go towards Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plains of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. So Lot goes to the fertile land, a place that is full of rich and plenty. But in this land is Sodom, and we will read about that later. Now Abram, dwelt in the land of Canaan, which is, earlier, that was the land, that God had promised him. And in verse 14 on, 14 to 18, and the Lord said to Abram after Lot had separated from him, Lift your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. Basically, look everywhere. Verse 15, For all the lands you see I give to you and your descendants forever. So he's saying this land will be yours for all time and your descendants. Now, at the time, Abram's wife was barren. But later we'll see the miracle that God provided there. And verse 16, a proof of how numerous his descendants will be. And I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants also can be numbered. That's the saying here, through history, the nation of Israel, and not just the nation of Israel, at the end time, his people will include everybody who has been saved in Jesus Christ, which will be a number that cannot be numbered. And, well, that's the end of what I'm sharing with you today. Thank you, and amen.